everyone, this is Nikki Burnette, and I wanted to make a video to show you my new Grayscale coloring book. This is Spellbinding Images, a Grayscale Fantasy Coloring Book Volume 2. I'm really excited to show you the inside of the book and all the images that are included inside. And I'll also be showing you this book, which is the advanced edition of the book. On the left is the beginners, on the right is the advanced, and I'll sort of be going into more detail about what makes these two books different and why I created both books. But we'll start with the beginners. This is the beginners edition cover. On the front is Symphony. She's one of my mermaid watercolor paintings, and all the Grayscale images in the book are based off my original watercolor paintings that I've then turned into Grayscale coloring pages. So she's a mermaid I painted a few years ago. And this is the back of the book. Both back covers of the book show all 20 images that are included inside and give a little bit of information about what features are included there at the bottom. And then this is the front cover of the Advanced Edition book, and same mermaid image. I wanted to make them the same to make it clear that it is the same book, but the colors are different, just so you can differentiate between the beginners and the Advanced Edition, because there are slight differences that would make you want to purchase either one. So let's take a look at both of the back covers together, and that'll sort of give you a really quick way to view the difference between the books. On the left is the beginners, and the right is the advanced, and you can see the Grayscale images in the beginners book are a lot darker than in the advanced book. So if you're looking for a quick answer as to what book to purchase, if you like to sort of just color one color over an entire area and you don't like to do a lot of shading yourself, I would recommend the beginner's edition book. If you like to do a lot of shading yourself and like more flexibility over what colors you can choose, I would recommend the advanced. And I'll go into more detail as I walk through the video about you know, why you should choose either one of the books, but that's sort of like a quick way to answer that question. So I'm going to start by flipping through the Beginner's Edition book. This is the title page, again showing the Mermaid Symphony. And I actually left a little bit of this uncolored so you could actually finish coloring this in. I think it'd look pretty neat. Here's the copyright information, some information about myself, and some of my other books that I have out. Okay, and this starts the introduction or tutorial information, and I really wanted to include information to explain how to use the book. So I talk about what is Grayscale coloring, why do you color over Grayscale, and why the images in the beginner's edition are so dark. I talk about what materials you can use, what techniques you can use, and then I go into basic colored pencil techniques, basic marker techniques, and what colors do you choose. And for those of you that bought Volume 1 of my Grayscale coloring book, this is the same information that was included in Volume 1. I did want to keep it the same because I didn't want to risk somebody buying only Volume 2 and they'd need to read the information from Volume 1. So I wanted to keep it all the same, but don't worry, I will have a lot more information on my website. I'm already making a lot more tutorials to go with Volume 2. And I already have the first one out on my website now of a witch called Willow that I did a colored pencil and a marker and a background tutorial for. So there is lots of supplemental information on my website specific to Volume 2. So I just wanted to let you know that. And continuing on, I talk about what's the best way to blend colored pencils on top of Grayscale, and then I talk a little bit about the paper, and then more about the book. So here we go into the tester sheets, and this is my favorite feature of the book. I'm so glad to hear all the positive feedback from Volume 1 of how much you guys love these tester images, so of course I had to include them in Volume 2. I'm just thrilled that you enjoy them as much as I do. Basically, let's see, on the left hand side here is a colored image of the original watercolor painting that the Grayscale image is based off of. So these are the colors that I originally chose for the image. And I wanted to include that because sometimes maybe you don't feel like thinking about what colors you might want to use or figuring out a color scheme, and it's a lot more stress relieving to just sort of follow along with a color scheme that's already chosen for you. So I wanted to include that for you, just so you have that option. And then to the right of that colored images are two small versions of the Grayscale coloring page that's included inside the book. And I'd say these are about trading card size, around that size. And basically you use these to test out your color schemes, and I definitely recommend trying out your materials to see how your colored pencils or markers or gel pens respond to the paper of the book. So it's always best to try here first. And sometimes I know a lot of people just enjoy coloring these small ones themselves, just as regular coloring pages, so it gives you extra things to color, which I hope you have a lot of fun with. And my favorite thing about these is that they're all single-sided, so you can actually cut these out and remove them from the book if you come up with a color scheme that you want to use as a guide while you're coloring, or you can remove the colored image itself. So I hope you really enjoy that. There's one row for each image that's included inside the book, and I'll just flip through these here, and they are in the same order that the images are inside the book. So hopefully it'll be really easy for you to find what you're looking for. I'll just continue on. There's 7 pages in total of tester images. Just move the advanced edition out of the way. There we go. Okay, and here we are starting the regular coloring pages of the book. This is the first image of the book, and I did want to draw attention to, this is the one small change that I did make in volume 2 is I included their names down there in the right hand corner. I got a lot of requests for this, and I honestly debated about it with volume 1 and for some reason decided to leave it off, but for volume 2 I did put it in there. I left it really small in case you don't really care for it that much. You could always even cover it up with a black Sharpie if you didn't want it on there. But I know a lot of people wanted to know their names, so I put that on there for you. Okay, so I wanted to show you a couple of things. Firstly, I wanted to show you the black borders that I left around the Grayscale image. And I did this because it's really easy to color right up to that edge, even over the edge a little bit. And once you're finished with your coloring, you'll still have a nice clean edge. You don't have to worry about coloring over the lines and it looking all jagged when you're finished. And I think it creates a really nice look once you're done, especially if you want to remove them and frame them. It even almost makes it look like a matted print. So I hope you like that little feature. I also wanted to talk about the paper of the book, and I'm just thrilled that I got such positive feedback from volume 1 about the paper, so I kept the paper exactly the same in volume 2. It's a medium weight, bright white paper, and I call it a satin sheen that is on the paper, and I don't know if you can sort of see that reflecting off my lamp. And what it is it's actually from the printing process of the book. It creates that nice finish on the paper. And, you know, from people that have purchased volume 1, I've heard them describe it as luxurious and they just really enjoy using it. I find it quite pleasant for colored pencils and markers. I know a lot of people especially really like using markers on it. But I find them both to be really nice. I've actually grown quite fond of the paper and prefer it over cardstock. I just really like the finish on it. It makes it a really nice and smooth to color over. So I hope you really enjoy that. Now that I'm to the first coloring page, I do want to do a side-by-side comparison of the advanced edition. So let me flip to Symphony. Here she is. And get them both on the camera there. So we have the beginners on the left and the advanced on the right. So you can see the beginners is a lot darker and the advanced is a lot lighter. So with the beginners, those shadows are nice and dark. They're almost black in the darkest areas. So you can color over with colored pencils and markers, and it's not really going to cover up the shadows completely, so you won't have to do a lot of the shading yourself. The Grayscale image does a lot of the work, almost all of it for you. And with the Advanced Edition, they are lighter, so especially with colored pencils, you'll find that they'll cover up the shadows quite a bit. So you'll need to add in a lot of those shadows back in. So that's sort of the difference between the pages there. And let me just hop on over to the Advanced Edition. I did want to show you one other main difference of the books, and that is the tutorial sections. And in the Beginner's Edition, I sort of went over main techniques for colored pencils and markers. In the Advanced Edition, I do go into step-by-step tutorials. I call them mini tutorials for both colored pencils and markers. I show you step-by-step. With the Advanced Edition, you sort of use the Grayscale image as your guide when placing your light and dark colors. So I show you how to do that. You start with the light, then the dark, and then you sort of blend with your medium color. And the same with the markers over here. And then I also talk about advanced mixed media techniques. So again, that's another difference that's inside the book. So the information's slightly different. So I'll just go back over to the Beginner's Edition now, and we'll finish flipping through the book, because the rest, it's just this, the rest is the same, just the Advanced Edition. Just keep in mind the images are going to be lighter. So I just wanted to flip through all the images and show you all the fun new images there are to color. So this is Symphony. She's a mermaid, and she has a textured background with pretty seashells and swirls. And again, these are all single-sided. I would recommend using cardstock in between. If you're using colored pencils or markers, you know, you don't want indentation marks on the pages behind if you're using colored pencils, so I always recommend putting something in between, a couple sheets of cardstock, or removing the pages from the book, which is my preference. This is the next image. Her name is Lissa. She's a fairy. She's walking through the grass with beautiful flowers behind her. This is Riley, and she's a steampunk girl, and she's holding a very dapper cat with a monocle and a top hat. This is Natalia, and she is a gypsy going into her caravan. This is Willow. She's an autumn witch. Well, I colored her in autumn themes, an autumn-themed color scheme, but I'd like to see what you color her in. She could be many different things, but I envision her as an autumn witch. She has a nice textured background. This is Alicia. She is a gothic angel on top of gothic architecture. This is Esme. She's another witch. This is Maggie, and she is a fairy sitting in a very pretty woodland background, woodland forest with some kitty cat friends. And there's lots of fun things to color in this one. Mushrooms, some little ribbons hanging off the trees. This is Kamaria. She is a witch sitting in a cemetery. And again, the backgrounds are nice and detailed. There's a shooting star back here and lots of fun things to color. This is Josie, another steampunk girl. I think she has a little attitude there with her hand on her hip. This is Ashlyn, probably one of the more detailed pieces in the book, and one of my favorite ones that I've ever painted. There's lots of potion bottles, and there's frogs and containers back here, a bubbling cauldron, lots of fun little details. This is Valencia, and she's a mermaid. She's in the water, and behind her is a stained glass window with some broken Gothic architecture there that's sort of washed away in the water. This is Sydney. She's a strawberry witch. She's a little kind of pinup style witch on top of a strawberry. This is Rona, and she is a pirate mermaid with a parrot on her tail and a little pirate kitty friend. This is Milana. She is an autumn mermaid. And again, I envisioned her as an autumn mermaid because there's leaves and everything, but she could easily be from a different season. This is Taryn, and she is a Halloween witch. She's sitting with pumpkins and her kitty cat friend. This is Amara, another really detailed one for you to color. She's a very intricate border with lots of shells and coral and fish. And this is Stella. She's a witch walking through the forest, and there's stars dangling off the trees with a kitty cat friend sitting in there. This is Kira, another witch with lots of fun things to color on the table. There's all sorts of things. And this is the last page in the book. This is Arden, and she is a masquerade fairy. You can see she has her mask over her shoulder right here. And that is the end of the book. There are 20 images to color in all, and I just wanted to do just a quick flip through of the advanced. I won't really talk much about the images in it, but I just wanted to show you really quickly the entire advanced book so you can see it. And the tester sheet images, and of course they're all done in the same lightness of the grayscale images that are included in this book specifically. And again, all single-sided so that you can remove them if you want to. And they have the colored image as well. Okay, and here are the start of the actual coloring pages. The advanced edition also has the black border. And again, the images are quite a bit lighter. I didn't want to lighten the images too much because I find if the images are too light, I find it's really easy to get lost while you're coloring. So I think these are plenty light to use all kinds of techniques over them. You have a lot of flexibility with the colors that you can choose. For instance, like she had black hair originally, but I've seen people in volume 1 where I colored something with black hair can easily turn this into a lighter color hair, especially with colored pencils because they're a very opaque medium. So I don't think there's very many limitations with this version, but the image is still dark enough so that you don't get lost while you're working and trying to figure out, you know, where something starts or stops. So hopefully you will find that to be the case too. So just continuing on through here. Can't wait to see some of these colored. I've already seen actually quite a few of them colored, and I'm just so blown away by everyone's work. It's just amazing. I never envisioned my art being used in this way, and it's so fun watching you turn my art into your own art and seeing these colored in ways that I never would have imagined it. It's such a fun experience for me. I can't thank you all enough for your support with Volume 1 and again with Volume 2. I really hope you enjoyed this video. And again, just a quick way to know which one to buy. Beginner's Edition, not very much shading is needed. Advanced Edition, you will need to add in some of your own shading. The Beginner's Edition, you will find some limitations with the colors you can use. For instance, there are some really dark areas that they're just always going to be dark. That's just the way Grayscale coloring works. With the Advanced Edition, you won't find those limitations, and you can easily color over darker areas and make them a different color. And I know a lot of people use these books as sort of a learning tool and buy both of them and work their way through the beginners and then the advanced, which I just love. I never saw my books as being used as a learning tool, so that just makes me so happy. They sort of work through the beginner's edition and learn where to put the shading and then jump into the advanced and sort of tackle the shading themselves, which I think is just fantastic. And well, both of these books are available on Amazon, and I also have printable versions available in my Etsy shop for those of you that prefer to print on your own paper. I'll put all those links below. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I just appreciate your support so much. I love interacting on Facebook, and also I have lots of supplemental material as far as tutorials and product reviews of things to use over Grayscale. I'll put all those links below, and most importantly, I have a coloring gallery, and I would love for you to share your finished colorings with me so I can post them on my website, and you can become an inspiration to others as they look through the images and decide what they want to color and how they want to color it. So I'd really love for you to share your colorings with me. I'll put all those links below. I also have a YouTube channel with lots of other tutorials, video tutorials, so I'd love for you to subscribe and take a look. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoy my new Grayscale coloring book, Volume 2. Thanks!